Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Big Air 01 coming at you with another video on my son's PW50. In this video, we are going to replace the worn out throttle cable on this bike. This bike's been having some issues idling lately, and I have a feeling I can't properly adjust it because the cable's stretched. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Alright guys, here we are. We're on my bench here. I'm going to show you some of the parts and the tools that you need to do this job. So you're going to need some something to cut your anything that's connecting the cables to the bike. You're going to need some needle nose pliers and also a Phillips screwdriver. So a couple of the parts that I ordered these are OEM parts because I originally had ordered some fly pig back when I was rebuilding my son's bike, and I found that the cables were just a tiny bit too long and they're super hard to adjust, which will make it difficult for you to properly set your idle and all that stuff with your carburetor. So I decided to spend a little bit extra money and get the OEM parts for this bike, and hopefully we'll make adjusting the carburetor for the idle and the throttle all that much easier to do. So the first part that we have is from the throttle itself on the handlebars, and this is the part number here, and this goes to the connector that's down. There's a connector housing, which is this one here, okay, and this is basically just underneath the gas tank, and then you're gonna have your two cables coming out of here, for one to the carburetor and one to your oil pump. I don't have an oil pump installed on my bike anymore. If you want to check out that video, you can check it out on my channel. I ended up removing it and I mix my own fuel now. So then you have the cable that goes from the connector housing to the throttle or to the carburetor itself, and these are the part numbers for them. Okay, and lastly, I've got my manual to help me with the throttle cable adjustment. If you don't have one of those, it's super important that maybe you get one of those. It's really easy to do. I also want to say that I'm not sponsored or anything like this. This is all work that I've purchased all these parts, and I'm basically doing the work myself. So let's get into it. Okay, as you can see, I can't adjust this anymore. I've tried adjusting it. This cable I think is just worn out, and it's just way too loose to be still using this cable. So I also down under here when I was rebuilding it, I had to, there's a huge crack in here, so I ended up putting a sleeve over top of it to kind of help it keep it straight. But I find that basically I think this cable is just a little bit stretched too much. So we're going to start by removing this your seats. You're going to take out these two bolts here and remove the seat. Okay, we're gonna start with the throttle itself. So there's two Phillips screws underneath here that you remove. Okay, just like that. Leave that attached, and then we'll start at the bottom and unhook everything that way. If you saw, it's hard to show you there, but basically it was sitting there like that. You twist it and then push it out so that it comes out the side like this. So next we're going to take the top of the throttle cable and the oil or the choke cable out, and there's a screw on top of the carburetor. Then we're going to unhook the throttle cable from the actual carburetor itself. So you basically are just going to push this in, and as you can see there's a groove right here on the actual sleeve. So you're just going to push it in like this, and then you're going to grab it and just pull it along the sleeve, sort of like that. Then next you're going to need some, I believe these are 8mm screws to unscrew this. So to get it out, I just stuck something help to push it around the corner in there. So now it's completely unhooked. So now I'll just cut the zap straps that I've got down under here holding it together, and we'll just pull the cable out, and let's look at the cable and see how stretched it is on the bench. Okay, so this comes apart. You can pull it apart on the bike if you want. It's supposed to be, this kind of broke apart there, but this is supposed to be in here sort of like this, and then it just comes apart. So looking at the old to the new, you know, this is the stock part, so I would imagine it's probably pretty close in length. My concern obviously is how stretched this is, but as you can see I kind of made like a sleeve to help keep it solid because it was all cracked underneath here. So it's one of the reasons why I'm replacing this. And then you also have your other cable here, so let's just take a look here in length. So it goes like this. They look pretty close in length. So let's. My concern was up top here because this was all broken at the top. It's not in there snug enough. So that's one of the reasons why we're going to do this. So to put this back together, you need this piece here. I'm going to slide this boot off. Okay, I'm going to put it on this one as well, just because it's help keep the dirt out of the top of the carburetor. So you're going to slide. It doesn't matter which hole it is. You can slide this in, and then it goes in there. As your oil cable would also go in here, but I don't have it in this. So you got it like that, and then you're just going to push this one out here like this. There's no real set groove in it, and then it's just going to go in one of those grooves like that. You're going to push it in, and basically when you push this little sleeve in, it locks that in, and then just push it over top. Like that, so that they're connected. So now it's connected, and now we're going to put it back on the bike. Okay, so we're gonna start at the top, because if you do the bottom, there's too much tension on this cable and it's hard to put it back together. So basically you're gonna thread the cable through the hole. You're gonna push it all the way in if you can, and then your cable should be out enough. Do it this way, slide it on, and then like that, so it's in there. And then just kind of put it so it's over top, and then you can put it back together. So part of this, they say to lubricate it. It's up to you. I'm not lubricating it because it's brand new at this point. So we're going to put the 2 screws back in. Okay, I'm gonna push the boot over top. Make sure it's all the way on. Feels like it's free in there. So now I'm gonna go down and we're gonna hook it up to the carburetor. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of get this roughly where I want it with a zap strap, just so to help me hold it in place, so that everything stays tight. And straight. It's gonna look something like that, right? Also, you want to make sure that you're not going to have any binding. Turn your handlebars. So the next part is, now we got it nice and snug in there. So we're going to thread it through. Make sure you put your brass adjustment on there as well. And then you should just be able to push it all the way down into there. You're going to take your spring, you're going to put the spring over top. Compress the spring as far as you can so that the cable sticks out of it. And then again, with that groove, you got to just put it in there, like so. I have it sort of like that, and then I take my needle nose to help me grip it and pull it just like that. Okay, so on the carburetor here, this is your pilot screw, and basically the manual says to turn it all the way in until it's snug, and then what you're going to do is you're going to back it out one full turn. So that's one full turn, and then it says 3/8 of a turn, so that's going to be just under half of a turn. So we're going to go to about there, and that's probably about 3/8. The next thing the manual says is when we put the sleeve in, that the idle screw is just snugs up against it. So you'll want to remove your air box or pull the carb out completely, but I'm just going to remove the air box, and then I'm going to look inside when I put this all back together. So there's a groove here that this slides in, which is on the back side of the carburetor. So to get this to go in, you're just going to make sure that you should not have to force this in. It will just slide all the way in without, just kind of wiggle it till it goes all the way down. And you're going to tighten up the top screw. Okay, so to properly adjust the just before you start it, obviously, is that your idle screw, you want to basically have it so that when you look inside in through the intake here, you're going to basically watch the sleeve. As I see the screw start to let it rise, I'm going to back it out. And then you can adjust it when it's warm. Okay, so the manual says that when you adjust the throttle cable, you start at the bottom and you want to check to see if there's any free play on the actual throttle cable itself. It says there should be free play of about 1 to 4 mils. So I don't know if it's hard to see. It feels pretty good. So I'm going to put this back over the top. Make sure those are snug. Okay, so the way the throttles, it should be set up properly if there's a 1.5 to 3.5 of free play. So I can feel the tension. There's a tiny bit of, but this is such a snug, like as you can see, it's already, like it's a lot better than the one I had on there. So it's got a little bit of free play, not a lot of free play, but enough that I can't adjust it anymore because it is already at the top, and same with the bottom. It's if this cable started to stretch, then you would basically extend this out. So I'm gonna fire it up, make sure that it idles, and make sure that the pilot screw's at the right location. Okay, so what I've done here is I've got it warmed up now, and when you see, if you go too, like, backing it out will lower the idle on it, and you'll want to screw it back in to bring the idle up. So I like it just so it's just purring.
Not quite stalling, but purring. So something like that. And if there's any bit of lag in the throttle, you can adjust the pilot screw. So I'm gonna back it, or I'm gonna turn it in a bit, see? You want to see if it comes back down to idle, which it does. And she's running pretty good. So the manual also says to make sure that when you turn the handlebars, that the idle doesn't come up or down. So you know that it's properly positioned so that it's not going to cause your kid to go out of control if the cables are binding anywhere. So all I did was put one zap strap right here, holding it in position, and then so that's all that we're going to do with that. I mean, it's running pretty good now. The cable's certainly a lot tighter than it was. It's not loose, and I think it was well and worth the investment to get a new cable.
So I got it all back together now. I want to make a few last comments here about this installation. So this was not involving, obviously, a oil injector pump also cable that would really plug into this portion here, and it would go to your oil pump. But I have already removed my oil pump in mine, and I pre-mix my fuel, so I didn't need to do that. There is obviously a few other steps that you'll want to check out if you own a manual to help you with the adjustment and also the removal and installation of the oil injector cable. But for now, I obviously have mine removed, so I can't really help you with that too much. I do have the manual, so if you do have some questions, I can try to answer them the best I can. So as you can see, you know, obviously there's some damage to this this cable here. It was missing the boot that was on the top that goes over top of everything there. So I mean, that there alone would probably affect it. The other thing obviously is this this break in the cable itself was causing me some issues with helping me adjust to your idle. Obviously it may not be a cause of an idle issue for you, but it's a good place to start. It's pretty inexpensive to actually just go and get the OEM one. I totally recommend the OEM one over any aftermarket ones, because you know you're getting the right length of a cable. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more money, but it'll make your life so much easier in the end if you just get the OEM throttle cable from Yamaha. So last thing I want to mention about this, guys, is, you know, I've got a lot of videos on my son's PW50 along with my son's others. He's got a CRF 70 as well, and then of course I've got my WR250R over there as well. But I've got some exciting news about this bike. I'm going to be making this bike into a big bore 60cc PW50. I feel like this motor's a little bit tired, as you could probably hear. You know, there's it sounds like a little bit of piston slap in there, so I would imagine that's the original cylinder, and probably the original. I mean, this is a 1983 PW50, so I'm pretty excited. I've got the parts here. I just have a few other things that I want to order. I'm trying to do some modifications. I'm going to do the big bore kit. I'm going to put some Boyson reeds in it, and probably an exhaust. I know it's a little bit expensive to do the exhaust, but this bike is tired. When my son rides it, sometimes when he goes up and down some hills, it certainly doesn't want to push him out the hill too well. So if you have any questions about this installation or what I did in this video, please feel free to leave a comment down below, or any questions that you have, and be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.